Welcome to AgriTalk, and thank you for keeping it KTN Farmers TV. On today's conversation, we are talking about artificial insemination in Kenya and other reproductive technologies. And with me in studio today is Dr. Paul Egesa, who is a director at the Research and Technology Services, who will be able to help us unpack this conversation. Karibu, Dr.
Asante sana.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Dr. Paul Egesa. I'm a vet surgeon, the Director Research and Technical Services at the Kenya Animal Genetic Resources Center.
Okay.
I'm also the Vice Chairman, Kenya Veterinary Association.
Oh, pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Dr. Tell us a little bit about artificial insemination. What is it exactly?
Artificial insemination is taking semen from a bull and then putting into a cow by artificial means. Mm-hmm. But it also works in other species also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you take the semen from a bull?
Yeah. We get it, we use an artificial vagina, and then we process it.
Okay.
We look at it first, whether it's still alive, viable, process it to increase the lifespan.
Okay.
Because it can be used anywhere in the world. So normally the process is we add some diluent, we take care of microorganisms, and then we freeze it up to minus 196 degrees. From there, it can stay for a very, very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you just take semen from any bull, or
No.
What do you look at on a bull, or when you're choosing a bull?
Yeah, when we talk about bulls, we want the best for the farmers in terms of productivity. For dairy people, they're looking at milk and milk components, and of course the conformation, the beauty of the offsprings. For beef people, they'll be looking for growth rate, the sizes, the weights, the weaning weights, the slaughter weights. So we take the elite bulls, the best genetics in the world, the best in the country. We use just a few selected bulls to produce semen for the rest of the cow population.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're choosing these bulls, do you choose from a bull that is well known to produce the characteristics that you are looking for, or how do you select those few bulls? How do you arrive at them?
Okay.
Is there a pool?
Yep. We work closely with the farmers who are the users, and each breed, there's a breed society. So we work closer. If it's Fresian, the Holstein Fresian Society, the Jersey breeders, they are there with a team of other experts in our center. They select the top bulls all over the world. So what we do in this country, we normally select the top cows to be the bull mothers in the best farms where they keep records, they do registration. So we import from the top sires, top bulls in the world, and then we give the top cows in the country. If they produce a male, then we bring to our center. They grow, they reach puberty, they give us semen. If it is a female, we leave it with the farmer, we try another time.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about semen processing. Maybe take us a little bit through that process. How do you, from the time you get it from the bull to the time it is ready to be used?
Okay, there are two ways, common ways of processing semen. We have the liquid semen, which is not frozen, and the frozen semen. The frozen semen is what is used mostly in this country and all over the world, because the semen will stay longer. Liquid semen, not beyond 7 days. So I'll talk about the frozen semen.
Okay.
So normally we prepare the bulls. You have to cycle them up a bit, but it's just a routine they're used to. The easiest way is we train them to mount either a dummy or a teaser, and another castrate. And then we get the semen. We have an instrument, that artificial vagina. They jump once or twice in a day, maybe twice a week, some of them. Then we evaluate the semen. We use a microscope to look at the viability. They have to be alive. At least 70% of the cells should be alive and moving. But we are getting more advanced. We also have computer-assisted semen analyzer, which can give you all those readings. The one using your own eyes is subjective, but it needs a bit of experience. But the computer is better.
Okay.
So if we are happy with the viability and the morphology, how are the cells looking? Are they moving? They have no deformities. Then we go ahead.
Okay.
We add a diluent, and the diluent contains antimicrobials to take care of any contamination. It has something that will prevent the cells from dying when you freeze. Normally, even you, if you go to a very cold environment, you'll die because your cells will start fast. So in science, we call it cryoprotectant. It's just a Latin word. Cryo is cold, protection is normal, isn't it?
Okay.
So it has a cryoprotectant, a nutrient for the cells. It replaces, it works like the seminoplasma, the media in which the sperm cells are suspended. Okay. But on top of that, there's antibiotics and the cryoprotectant. Once we calculate, depending on the concentration that we get of this semen and the volume, then we know how many doses we are going to make out of it. Then we add the diluent based on the number of doses. Once we add the diluent, now we start gradually to lower the temperature. From when it came from the bull at about 37 degrees, we bring to room temperature within an hour, and then we take to a cold room or even a chiller. Then we lower it within 4 hours to 4 degrees. And then we put in straws and then seal the straws, write on the straw information about the bull so that I know this was Keitani, this was Murkomen or whoever. Each bull has a name and a code number, like an ID number. So even if the names are the same, the code will be different. From there now we have an automatic freezer. We freeze using liquid nitrogen vapor. We lower it from 4 degrees to minus 100 within 10 to 15 minutes. And it's computerized, so you see the curve, the way it goes. At around minus 4 degrees, it changes from liquid state to solid state. And then from there, we dip in liquid nitrogen proper, which is minus 196, very cold temperatures. There it will stay for the rest of the life until the day you'll use it. But before we release it, we do quality control. We check a sample of each ejaculate to see whether they survived freezing. Not 100% survive. At least 50% of the cells in that straw should be alive and moving. Then that one will give you good conceptions.
Okay. Yeah. Why is it important to reduce the temperature that gradually?
Yeah, you want the cells to acclimatize. Okay. And also, you're avoiding what we call cold shock. You want the cells also to take time to get used to the diluent that you have added. Yeah.
Okay. And how long do you get semen from these bulls? For how long?
Ideally, so long as the farmers want a bull, he'll stay around. But age will catch up. Okay. From 8, 9 years, the normal problems you'll get with your knees and so on. The bull will also start getting problems, even mounting and so on. But they differ. I've had a bull at the center giving me semen at 17. Others at 9 years, they look like they're the age of the earth. Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm a farmer and I want, my cow is on heat, and I want it to be artificially inseminated. Yep. So how do I arrive at the bull that I want? How is there a place you have a catalog where farmers will visit and look at the characteristics of the bulls and say, this is what I want?
Yeah, that's true. All semen producing companies have a catalog of their bulls. We have ours, both in hard copy and on our website.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a code you talked about.
Yeah, there's a name, there's a code, there's a picture, there's information about the parent, there's information how the mother, the dam was producing, and if there is information about the daughter production, it's there. But today, we also have genomics, whereby they're able to look at the gene sequence, the DNA sequence of these bulls, and they can tell you their attributes in terms of production and conformation.
Okay. Yeah. So this code, who generates it? Because now you say there are also other companies that also produce semen. Who generates it so that we don't have two bulls having the same code?
Yeah, there are two types of codes. There is the one generated by the center ourselves. We have a format. And then there's one generated by the Kenya Stud Book. That is the most important one. The Kenya Stud Book one is like the Register of Persons. And then every country has an office that regulates the coding system. Like in US, for example, there's a Certified Semen Services that does it. In Kenya, the semen producers have to agree with the DVS on the naming and the coding so that you don't duplicate. Okay. The Director of Veterinary Services, that is. Yeah.
So as a country, do we export semen? Or?
Yeah, we do. Last year, I think we exported about 1,650 to Rwanda and some few doses to Tanzania. Okay. But we are right now have inquiries from Mali and Burundi.
Okay. Yeah. So at the center, how many bulls do you have at the moment that
At the moment, we have about 140. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're able to give us over 1 million straws.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are there other advances in semen processing?
Yeah. These things are evolving. The technology I'm using today to process semen is not what I used when I joined about 23 years ago. So today, the most important thing is to increase conceptions. Other than coming up with the computerized semen analysis, today we are trying to look at the integrity of the nucleus, the head. There's what we call the acrosome, the DNA integrity, the mitochondrial integrity. We also want to see how do we account for the dead cells, because you cannot separate them, so that you can have as high conception as possible. There are also differences we get in conceptions from bulls, two different bulls giving you the same semen quality, but the conceptions are not the same. So researchers are working out to find out what is it in the seminoplasma that is causing the difference, so that we can either remove the seminoplasma and put an artificial one, so long as it can improve conception. Okay. And then, I don't know whether you have heard it, we also have gender sorting, whereby you separate the X's from the Y. You're almost 90% sure you're going to get a heifer. Okay. Sexing of semen. That one is, okay, we are not doing it, but the company is doing it already abroad.
Yes, I've heard about sexed semen. Yeah. And at the moment, it's still very expensive.
No, the prices are coming down.
They're coming down?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about artificial insemination, how is the uptake as we speak?
Kenya is one country where we started AI long ago, in 1930s. And in 1960s, 70s, up to 80, we were among the top in the world, because it was almost free, but it was funded by the government. Now it got privatized. Initially, there was a bit of resistance, and of course, then what we hear about the milk prices and so on. You have to sell the milk to be able to pay for these costs. But the uptake is still good in this country. If you look at the region or even the continent, AI numbers in Kenya account for almost 25% of the whole of Africa. We are doing over 1 million inseminations. The whole of Africa is doing around 3.5, 3.6 million. Okay. The whole world is doing about 300 million. Yeah.
So when it comes to transportation, how easy or how difficult is it to transport it from the bulls and
from the center?
From the center to anywhere?
It's not difficult, because we have specialized cryogenic tanks. They're like flasks. We put, it is liquid nitrogen throughout at -1 and 6. So these tanks will maintain the cold inside, but the cold is not transmitted outside, so you can still hold it. We use just the normal, you can use the normal courier services to reach anywhere. 2, we also have been able to take the semen closer to the people. We have sub-centers in Kirinyaga, Sotik, and Nyandarua. We have our stocks there. We also have pickups and lorries distributing semen and liquid nitrogen to our agents. We have about 62 appointed agents all over the dairying zone. So it's not far from the farmers.
Okay. Yeah. And how are the costs at the moment?
The cost of semen from our center is different from the service, because we'll sell the semen, but whoever is doing AI has to put charges for consumables and his own fee and mileage and so on. Okay. So at farm level, what is charged, I may not say. It depends on an area to area. But as we are selling it at around 200 shillings per straw.
Okay. Yeah. This is the only bull center in the country, or we have others around?
No, we have 2 that are running. There is the Agriculture Development Corporation, ADC in Kitale. It started 2-3 years ago. But I don't know how much they're producing. I don't think they have hit 500,000 yet. Okay. Yeah, but they're coming up.
So how much are you producing at the bull center?
Last year we did around 800,000, but we have capacity to do up to 1.2, 1.5 million.
Okay. Yeah. So for farmers who are watching us at the moment, what are the advantages of using artificial insemination compared to using a bull?
Yeah, you cannot compare, because first of all, you have the best bull. You have access to the best bull in the country or in the world with AI. You are not sure, and you are sure of the bull you are using, because we have looked at the offsprings, and even if it's through genomics, we are sure of what we're using. 2, diseases. If you're using natural service and maybe you are using as a community, if one cow is sick, the bull will transmit. These are sexually transmitted diseases. 3, the cost of keeping that bull. Most farmers have 1, 2, 3 cows. The bulls are not small. They eat like, one bull can eat what 2 cows eat. So if the 3 cows are pregnant, what is that bull doing there? It's very expensive. And they're no good bulls. They'll always be rough. They'll break your fence or break you. So leave the bulls to me.
Okay. So I remember growing up, once in a while my dad could call a vet to come and serve the cow.
Yep.
But I don't remember us choosing what bull we wanted. It's the vet who used to come and decide, this is what I have. And I also remember we never used to keep records. Maybe that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
So how important is record keeping when it comes to artificial insemination, especially for a farmer?
Very, very important to avoid inbreeding, whereby you end up serving a bull on a close relative or even his daughters. The offsprings will not be good. Yeah, they'll be inbreeding. And then also, at least for you to be able to keep the parentage, to help yourself choose which bull you want. I know the problem is still there where some inseminators have limited number of choices. Some even don't ask, but even as we are the problem, you call the person where you're in office, he just goes there, does it, calls you, you M-Pesa, na mnaachana. You're waiting for the calf. So we might be the problem. And when he does the insemination, let him leave the straw behind so that you can get the information about the bull, you keep it in your records.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to the catalogs, where can the farmers access these catalogs?
From our agents. We have agents. If someone can get us, write to us, we can, wherever you are, we can tell you who is closest to you.
Okay.
Yeah. But even in our offices, you can get them.
So I can just walk to the office and get a catalog.
Yeah,
is it, do you charge?
It depends. Sometimes when we get advertisers and so on, we don't charge. We give it for free with the newsletter. Now we charge for a newsletter and give a catalog free.
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of inseminators, do you train them or how do they come about?
They're trained by these veterinary and paraveterinary training institutions are the ones who train them. We don't train them as an institution, no.
Okay, so by the time they graduate from college, they've already been trained on how to...
They're good enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going forward, how well is this going forward? If you compare Kenya and the neighbors, how well positioned are we?
Actually, that's what we are fighting for. We are looking at, they are struggling with the AI centers. Why don't they leave us in this business? We produce for them semen. We can produce, like Agric, we can produce enough semen for the whole of East Africa use. And even if they'll produce theirs, we are trying to open up into Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania to see if we can also get some market share there. We have better genetics than them.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to service providers, do you have a list?
Yeah. Not as Agric, but the regulator is the Director of Veterinary Services at national level and the county directors of veterinary services. The inseminators are licensed and they have an ID and a number. So they are known.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I called a vet to inseminate my cow. And after some time I realized the cow was not served. What could have been the problem and what does the farmer need to know?
If the cow didn't catch or get pregnant, there are about 4 reasons that could have happened. It's either the cow, you, the farmer, the inseminator, or the semen.
So when you say...
So one thing about semen, I'm very sure of the semen that leaves my gate.
Okay.
Beyond that gate is a bit difficult for me. So you find that maybe the inseminator did not keep his semen well. The liquid nitrogen levels went down, and some semen maybe died or some was affected. That one, all his inseminations will not catch. Okay. It's easy to know. If it is the farmer, maybe you called him late or too early. Okay. Or the cow has a problem. If it is the cow has a problem, maybe hormonal, nutrition, or any other diseases. Yeah, you see? So it's very easy. Now, a vet has to come in. A qualified vet will be able to investigate. And if you keep records, it's very easy to know.
Okay. As a vet, yourself?
Yeah.
How soon or when should I call a vet?
Now, normally we could recommend if the cow starts in the morning, let him be inseminated in the afternoon or let her be inseminated in the afternoon. If it is in the afternoon, the following day in the morning. We have what we call the easiest is AM, PM rule. But now, sometimes if you're not keen, you don't know when. So there are some questions the vet will ask you, what are you seeing? Like a discharge of mucus, clear mucus. She stands when others are mounting. But what happens if you only have one? Who else will? There's no other cow to mount her, see? So, but if there are many, you look at how she's behaving. A cow on heat, if you see her standing when the others mount, then we call it standing heat. So you count around 8 hours from there. But if you're not able to observe, then that is where mistakes come in. But the best time to observe your animals, at least the herder, especially early in the morning and in the evening, when it's not hot. Let them take at least 30 minutes just observing them when they're feeding and so on. Yeah. And then it's easier to detect the cow on heat early.
Okay.
Yeah.
These services are only offered by you, or also there are also other organizations in the private sector that do the same?
Now, the private sector mainly imports semen. Yeah, from US, Germany, Canada, Holland, name them. Yeah.
But the quality is assured?
No, it's controlled. It's controlled by the regulator, the Director of Veterinary Services. We are sure they bring good things in terms of the quality of the semen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand or to put myself in the farmer's shoes. This vet has come.
Yeah.
He has assured me he can inseminate my cow. How guaranteed am I that the semen he's using is still viable? Is there a way a farmer can tell? Or he can just come, open that container and receive?
Farmers talk to each other very easily. And if you have 3 or 4 inseminators running in an area, it's very easy to know who is doing a shoddy job and who is doing a good job. Because if your semen is not viable, if you are not good in the technique, we'll look at the conceptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there are no conceptions, I'll tell my neighbor, and we all run away from you, or the authority can decide you go for a refresher course.
Very true.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Let's take a short commercial break, and then we'll come back and continue this conversation. For those joining us at home, today we are talking about artificial insemination in Kenya and other reproductive technologies. And in studio today is Dr. Paul Egesa, who is helping us unpack this conversation. We are taking a short commercial break, but we are coming back shortly. So don't go far.
Sweet potatoes, carrots, to name but a few, form an integral part in our nutrition. We teach you the management practices required to grow these crops and how these crops and many more are creating wealth for farmers who dare to go the extra mile. Catch Mizizi every Sunday from 8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on KTN Farmers TV.
This month, we are working in association with the Boda Boda Association of Kenya. The Boda Boda Association of Kenya is a group of all the bodas from across the country. And we started this engagement a month ago with the aim of ensuring that the Boda Boda Association is able to facilitate us. And they have really come out in large numbers from across the country, where they are going into our participating sites, which include 36 satellites that are served by the regional banks. During this time, we are very well aware of COVID, and therefore They are ensuring, our sites and the association are ensuring that we are meeting or observing the COVID guidelines. In last year, the Director General of Health was able to publish guidelines on COVID blood management in the context of COVID, which then allows us to collect blood safely and be able to ensure that it is transfused safely. Over these next 2 weeks, we really do hope that you as a Kenyan can work with the Boda Boda Association. You as a Kenyan can come out to the various satellites and give blood. Remember, blood saves lives. I think the most important thing for me as we move forward is to remind us that the Ministry of Health, through the Cabinet Secretary, did clarify that there would be a lot of enhancements and changes within the blood sector. To that regard, there is the development of policy. We have had started renovations of the blood centers, the regional banks, to ensure that we increase storage capacity, to ensure that we are also availing services when they are needed and how they are needed. So I would like to call on every Kenyan, not only because we are having this Boda Boda drive, but every single Kenyan on your birthday, please go out and give blood. Save a life on your birthday. That will ensure that Kenya has the minimum of 500,000 units we need every year. Thank you very much. Asanteni.
To AgriTalk, and thank you for keeping it KTN Farmers TV. On today's show, we're talking about artificial insemination in Kenya and other reproductive technologies. And with me in studio, I'm still with Dr. Paul Egesa, who is a director at the Research and Technology Services Center here in Nairobi. Dr. Ari, when we went before, as we were going on a break, you were telling us about how important AI is to farmers, but also you said you cannot be able to give guarantees of semen that has left your center, and farmers need to be very careful when they're engaging a vet. So my other question would be, is AI only applied to livestock, cows only?
No, in livestock, not cows only, not dairy only. We have AI in goats. And for your information, we have put up an AI center for goats in Kirinyaga County. And it's complete, I should say. Actually, we should start operations by beginning of June. So goats, mainly dairy goat semen, should be available by mid this year.
Okay.
We also have AI in pigs. I was looking at records from the director's place. There are people who are importing pig semen, and there are people in the country who are even producing their own semen from within the herd, especially Farmer's Choice. I know they're doing some AI. We have research institutions doing AI in poultry, Calro in Naivasha, they're doing it. And I've heard of a farm or two that also are doing AI in poultry. Okay. In horses in this country, quite a number of horse semen is being brought in for the racing horse or for those playing I can't remember that game. Polo. But yeah, so we have semen being brought in for horses. Okay. But AI can be done in any species, especially at research level. It's used a lot in human beings to help the people who are having problems getting babies. I know colleagues in the medical side, I've worked with them who are doing it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me take you back to chicken. Can anyone do AI on their chicken?
It's much simpler than in cattle, especially if you're doing it in your own flock. Mm-hmm. But you have to have a reason why you're doing it. Mainly it's done at the research level. If we are breeding, we want to make maximum use of the semen. You just train the cocks, you get the fresh semen and put in the hens. You don't need to freeze. But if you're doing it for conservation, sometimes we freeze them into pellets, which you can use later. But most of the people using them, especially the breeding stocks, they are using fresh semen. It's much easier than even the frozen semen in cattle.
Okay. Yeah. Does the flock matter?
Yeah, to make economic sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not for someone with 3, 4, 10 birds. No, you must be a commercial person to be doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to insemination, are there any other technologies that farmers can use apart from artificial insemination?
Yeah, in this country, we've tried embryo transfer. It's done, both getting embryos from this country to other countries or being imported. That is the next line that we are trying to develop. As Kenya Animal Genetic Resources Center, the government has given us funding. We want to start an ET center to develop our own nuclear herd and produce embryos for the farmers. Okay. So it's something we're working with the collaborators, people from research institutions, universities, but we have the money to put up the infrastructure. We've been assured of money to put up infrastructure. We'll be putting up a center in Marimba, in Meru.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about embryo transfer,
yep,
maybe you can expound a little bit how it works.
Now, embryo transfer, unlike AI, whereby you get semen from a bull, with embryo transfer, you are putting a whole organism, a whole organism. You get a cow. Normally, in a cycle, a cow will ovulate 1 or 2, but the most common is 1 egg. But you give it hormones to ovulate more. We call it superovulation. Mm-hmm. The few times I worked with it, the highest we got was 32. Then you have to inseminate normally, but slightly more semen, and maybe twice or thrice. And then you let it stay for 7 days, and then you get those embryos out. Okay. You look at them in the microscope. If they are fertilized, if the egg was fertilized, you will see the embryos. If the egg was not fertilized, you get the ova. So you can use them again fresh. But now, unlike semen where we pack about 20 million in a straw, this is 1 embryo per straw. Mm-hmm. Then you pack in each straw, you can use directly, fresh. You get another set. Now, the cow giving you embryos is the donor. The cow that will receive the embryos is the recipient. Mm-hmm. So you bring the recipient to the same level of pregnancy that the donor was when you removed the embryos, 7 days. So by the time you are inseminating this one, you're also injecting her with hormones to come preparing this one to superovulate. The donor is also being prepared. If you're going to use fresh ones, the day you get embryos from the donor, the recipient should also be like 7 days after her heat, but she was not inseminated. Mm-hmm. So if you get 7 embryos, you need 7 recipients. If you get 30, you need 30. But now, the technology has improved. You can freeze excess. If you don't want to use them, and for ease of trade, they are frozen also. But you'll have to prime again the recipient to 7 days. Each exporting company will always tell you which day you should transfer. Okay. So you just thaw it and then transfer, and you wait for pregnancy. But the conceptions are not as high as AI. If you get 45%, 50% conceptions, praise the Lord. You're happy. Yeah.
What about, how do you get the embryos from the cow?
Yeah, you use catheters, you flush, you can go through the cervix. You use it is a 3-way tube. One way pumps in air ahead in the horn, in the uterus. It blocks ahead of where we expect the embryos to be. Mm-hmm. And then the second the opening brings in a media. We call it a flushing media. Then the third opening is where the embryos will be forced by pressure to enter and come out by gravity. And you wait with a filter which has some media. Excess media goes, but some will remain. And then you go with it to the microscope to search and look for your embryos there.
Okay.
Normally, you look at the ovary. If the cow responded well to superovulation, you expect to see what we call corpus luteum, the scar that was left there after ovulation. So you count them, and it gives you an idea of what you're going to get.
Okay.
But if you find that you are getting more eggs that were not fertilized than the embryos, then the inseminator or the semen was a problem.
Okay.
But if you find that the response on the ovaries is not good, then look at the hormones. Yeah.
So when you're choosing the cow to also get the embryos from, do you also look at the same characteristic the way you are looking for the bull?
For the bull. Embryo transfer, unlike AI, gives you a chance now to make use of a good cow. Because with AI, it's only the good bulls, the superior bulls that are used. Unfortunately, a cow can only give you a calf per year. Maybe in a lifetime, if you are very lucky, 8 to 10. But now with ET, you can see I can flash up to 30. I've read up to 40.
In a year?
Yeah, and you can do it repeatedly. So this superior cow, this exceptional cow, you can get so many offsprings with ET.
Okay. So when you compare AI and embryo transfer, any advantages and disadvantages?
Embryo transfer, at least you gain from both sides. A superior cow, superior bull. 2, it's very easy, to buy a whole animal. I just get the embryo from America, but getting a cow from America will be very expensive. 3, there's no disease transmission with the embryo transfer. We try as much as possible. We call it a bit of washing of the embryos. So it's easy for biosecurity. And 4, you are coming to put this embryo into a cow locally. So she'll get some maternal immunity from the local cow, meaning the local environment. More so if you put in the zebu, the Bos indicus. The embryo that comes in gets the immunity from the mother, so they survive better. But it is a technology, it comes at cost. Cost of training the technician, cost of the whole exercise, either flashing or buying. That is the biggest obstacle. And then the conception rates are a bit lower. So it is for the top-end breeders, the people at the top of the population, whereby they are able to produce good cows. And then what these good cows will produce, we buy from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the cow I get from an embryo transfer technology, will it be an hybrid already, or it still takes a process?
It will be the same state as where it came from. If you got a crossbreed, it will give birth a crossbreed. The recipient, the surrogate mother does not change anything genetically on that cow, on the calf. So if you bought a Boran embryo, and even if you put in a Frisian, the Frisian only carries. It will produce a pure Boran.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So that is one advantage I see from if you compare it with AI, because AI you have to, is it 4 times for you to get an?
No, if you have pure animals, you don't need to be worried of what. If you have been keeping records and you're sure you've been on Frisian line, every offspring that comes out is a pure Frisian. And if you have records, you can register them as pedigree or appendix or whichever level. Yeah.
But if I want to take a shortcut
from a
cow that is not a pure breed, and I want a pure breed.
Let me say now the zebu. Now that one is what will take you generations you are talking of, up to maybe 4th generation, because the first generation is 50% F1. The second generation is 75%. The third generation is 87.5%. So by the 4th generation is when now you are seeing something like a pure Frisian, if you're using a Frisian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a country in Africa that has really gone into embryo transfer?
Yeah, South Africans are doing quite a lot. One of the biggest embryo transfer companies in South Africa. They were around recently. You know what happened is South African wanted our Boran and Ankole from Uganda. So but their regulation there, they don't allow live animals from this region. So they brought their team, they set up a center. We have an AI facility in Laikipia. So all the cows to be flushed, they're brought together. There's a small lab, they flush, they freeze, and then we sell. South Africa are more advanced on that.
Okay.
But we are really struggling to see if we can do it. With the funding we have gotten, I'm sure within 2-3 years we should be somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other technology when it comes to?
Yeah, what we've done, what we have tried in this country also is the same embryo transfer, but we use in vitro fertilization. In vitro fertilization, is what in common language we call test tube babies.
Okay.
You get the egg from the cow, you leave the cow alone, you get the semen, you meet them in the lab. In an incubator, you incubate. After about 7 days again, you freeze. Then one day you can, or you can do it fresh. You transfer to a recipient. So it's commonly called IVF ET. We were trying to learn a lot, and even the same funds we are getting, we want to try the same. Brazilians have done a lot, and we worked a lot with their research institute, Embryo, with help of ILRI. And we got some few calves at Kapiti, but I think the project did not continue. So now with the government funding, the same people who worked with the Brazilians, we are still there, and my colleagues. We want to use the same also. We have a small lab, IVF lab in Eldoret, in Moiben. We want to see whether we can revive it also.
Okay.
Yeah, and ILRI also.
Okay. So when you talk about freezing, how long, when it comes both to the embryo and the IV technology, how long can you freeze this?
No, just like semen. Once you freeze, they can stay forever. You know, the freezing technology started in the 60s, let me say late 50s. And the people who started it thought maybe within 10 years went, the cells were still alive. 20 years went, now we are doing about 80 years, 60 years. The cells are still alive, so I don't know. So we hope they'll go on and on and on. And it's very, very good. That's why these reproduction technologies are very, very good in conservation of genetic materials, in conservation. Once we call it cryoconservation, conservation in the cold. Once you freeze, and that's what they're struggling with the rhinos with Olpageta. If they can freeze some of the semen when the rhinos are still alive, they can keep trying to make the others pregnant. So same with bulls. You can use a bull long after he's gone. But for endangered species, it helps. You get a few that are remaining, then you can use it to create another population.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are those the only technologies, or you still have one?
No, they're there, but those are the most commercially used.
Okay.
The others are still at research level. Let me talk a bit about cloning. But before I go to cloning, when you talk of reproduction technology, is anything artificial that will make a cow pregnant, or partially artificial, because sometimes even use of hormones alone is a reproduction technology. Even contraception in human beings, that's also reproduction technology. So all the way from use of hormones to AI to sexing of semen, embryo transfer, IVF, those ones are now getting commercial. Cloning is not yet. Cloning is whereby you duplicate a whole being. The way you are, we get your offspring with your your genes alone, the DNA, the same exactly like you, nothing like you and wife.
This is why there is a lot of noise about cloning.
Yeah, but there's a lot of work going on. Maybe one day it will be accepted and it will be cheaper. What happens? Normally, we have the sex cells, that is the sperm and the egg, or the ova. They have haploid, half the number of chromosomes. So when they come together, it's now complete, diploid. But now with the cloning, some people call it a somatic cell nuclear transfer. I've talked of a sex cell, but the other body cells, we call them somatic cells. I get a cell of your skin or at the base of your hair. I process it, get the nucleus, and inject into I get an ova. They remove the nucleus of the ova and then inject these chromosomes there. They inject the nucleus there. And then they use a bit of like electric shock, and then there's fusion, and the subdivision continues. It's not something abnormal, because even among the bacteria and so on, there's a sexual reproduction whereby an organism divides itself and moves on. Yeah. So once it goes, it continues, and it will form an embryo, and then a fetus, and then a calf.
Okay.
But damn expensive. But it's good because there are some exceptionally good animals, especially in dairy and beef and pigs, which you don't want to lose. You want the same bull. So if you can do that and get the same bull, then you get his semen and continue. You don't have to continue cloning to produce new animals. You just for exceptionally good animals. Or for conservation, we have a very small population remaining.
Like the rhinos, they should have done that.
Yeah, if they could have managed a lot, they should be able to do that. But you see, they need an egg, and the female are not cycling.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
So, any challenges when it comes to artificial insemination?
Yeah, it's a cost. If you ask farmers, they'll always tell you it's expensive, but I don't believe so. Sometimes it's just that we don't balance our income and input. Fine, there's also a problem with the milk prices and so on. But if you can feed your animal well, and you're able to do proper heat detection, and you're able to get a cow every year, then it's not expensive. There are some areas the service is not there. We are still opening into new areas, training people, training farmers to see whether they can take up the technology. So the challenges we get with some few inseminators, if they're not very keen or they don't want to follow what we train them in, those ones we try to, when the conceptions are not good, especially in the new areas, some people give up. But quite a number of county governments are really promoting it. They are funding, subsidizing, so the outreach is increasing as much as there are challenges. Most of the challenges that we had in our side, like providing liquid nitrogen, now it can reach all over. So other than what the farmers perceive as the expense, there's no much challenge. There's just, they gain a lot by using AI.
But as a country, do we have enough inseminators in the country?
No, we have enough. We have enough. We have a big pool of inseminators. I can't remember the exact figures, but they're in thousands in this country. And those are the registered ones. Those who don't want to keep renewing, to renew their licenses. The other big challenge is that we also don't know who is doing where. We need to get a record of what is happening so that we can have figures. These figures go all the way up to FAO, so that the whole world knows what we are doing. But as a country, challenge of inseminators, no. Semen, no. Liquid nitrogen, no. I don't know now what can stop the country from moving on with the AI.
Okay. Yeah. You talked about the county government. Now that agriculture is a devolved function, do you think both the national and the county government are doing enough to promote such technologies to the farmers, train either the farmers, the inseminators? Do you think they're doing enough?
Yeah, even before devolution, the AI was privatized. It's just that a few county governments are coming in again to try and help. But even in areas where the county government are subsidizing, they are still private inseminators, and the people still, if I prefer a certain inseminator, it doesn't matter. It's just like going to a public hospital and a private hospital. Fine, sometimes it looks like money is the issue, but with AI, the prices sometimes are also not the issue. It's a matter of the service you want. Now, the county government, with the devolution, we expect them to carry out more of extension services, to train the farmers more, to teach the farmers more on heat detection, on proper nutrition, and maintaining healthy animals. Those animals will conceive much better. They should also regulate the inseminators in their area, be it private or their own government inseminators. They have to give them reports, they have to assess them to know who is doing what, so that we look at the conception rates for each inseminator. And they can also give us a feedback on conception rates of our bulls and any other bull that is in distribution. So mainly most of the work is with the county. The government remained mainly with the policy issues, the central government. With the policy issues, if they agree with the county on some, like now we have breeding rules coming in, they'll have to go to the county for public participation. They agree, and all counties have to adapt.
Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to the countries that produce semen, is there a country that you can pick on top of your mind that you say they are the best, they produce the best semen, or they are all the same all over the world?
The standards are almost the same throughout. They're the same. Yeah, we use the same standards throughout. Okay. But also, as we have minimum standards that we can accept in terms of the quality of the semen and the quality of the bull that gave that semen.
So there are also qualities?
Yes. Of course, with the bull, we want to look at the information that is in their catalog. There is a minimum amount of milk we expect from these offsprings, where they came from. And just know the quantity, but the butterfat content, the protein. We also look at conformations, the feet and legs, the udder. We don't want we can't bring in semen that can affect the gains we have made. And anything below what we have, we don't accept. I mean, the DVS does not accept.
Okay.
Yeah. So generally, it's very difficult to say that this country is producing the best semen or not. Also, it's farmer preference. They might be Frisians, all of them. But a Frisian from Kenya is different from a Frisian from Holland. In Kenya, the farmers breed what works with our environment, and that's why we encourage people to use our own semen. We design an animal that can work in this environment. Whoever is exporting, the American, also designed an animal to operate in that environment. So if you copy and paste blindly, you'll be in trouble, because that is a big machine the other side. She stays in an air-conditioned room. She's fed very well. You come here, you start carrying grass on your back to feed this big machine. You'll die before the cow.
True.
Yeah.
Last one, Dr.
Yes.
When it comes to this information, this catalog,
Yeah.
is there a place where every country puts their catalog? So if I'm a farmer and I'm looking for semen, or an organization I want to import or buy semen, where do I go? Is there a central place?
Not really a central place, I can say, but once you know the name of the company, you can easily access their catalog. All of them are putting on their websites.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is it, Dr. for today. That's all the time that we have for this conversation. It's been very insightful, and I want to believe even the farmers who have been watching us from home, and anyone who has been thinking of how to improve their cows. Now you hear even your chicken, you can still do artificial insemination. I'm sure you've learned something. Until next time, that is it from AgriTalk. Goodbye.